Hey, I'm George Gant, creator of Beware Toddler, and you're watching Two Geeks Talking.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We are starting off our 12th anniversary on Two Geeks Talking with a very incredible person. He's not been on the show. This is his first time, and I think it's wonderful that he's on the show. You've seen his work on Instagram, on his website, geogantart.com. The creator and the very talented artist, George Gant, is joining us from Beware of Toddler and, of course, the Reset Button. How you doing today, George?
I'm doing well, doing well. How about you?
Doing good, doing good. We're in unprecedented times here. We're in a quiet place. We're talking about comics. We're talking about a very talented artist than yourself, like I said in the intro. How did you get into art? And we'll talk about the comics as we go.
I kind of just stumbled upon it. I didn't really care much about art, like as a young kid. Um, but when I started going to school, I saw other kids drawing and things like that, and I thought it was pretty neat. And I thought, hey, maybe I could do that. And I started drawing myself, and it's always been based in comics. That's pretty much where it started with me. Um, I would draw just in school, and I wouldn't do any schoolwork. I just draw, and and that's pretty much where it started. I came across some Calvin and Hobbes books and some Bloom County books, and from there, it just like things just took off.
Can you remember your first character that you drew?
Yes. I well, my very first character was basically myself. I drew like a little picture book when I was real young, but outside of that, I think I came up with this ninja character. Um, he had like two swords, and I named him Saber, and he was supposed to be this badass character, but I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. And from time to time, I still draw him out just for fun, but it's not pretty.
That's all right. I mean, everyone started somewhere. I'm glad you started there. But looking at your artwork over the years, because I've been following you for a while. When we started back in 2008, I was aware of the Reset Button, and it was on my watch list when I was looking at PvP and all those other comics that I used to read when I had time. Um, but looking at your dynamics, your action, your character creation, your sense of humor. You have a great sense of humor, by the way.
Thank you.
And I just talk about Reset Button, how that came about as well too, because that's kind of seems to be an interesting story.
Well, with the reset button, um, I had actually stopped drawing for a while. Like I'd done some comic work in high school. I'd done some editorial comic work for the school newspaper, won a few awards, and then just kind of stopped. And then a few years later, I wasn't really doing much. Like I'd gone to college, couldn't afford to continue going to college, so I started working, and I was working in a coffee shop. I was working at Starbucks, and I wasn't really doing anything but that. And somewhere along the lines, I just decided to pick up the pen again. Let's try comics. I thought to myself, this was around the time where Penny Arcade really started to grow,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking, hey, I can do that. I drew comics in the past. I won awards for editorials. I'm a big gamer. I'm a huge gamer. Um, I can do this. And this was also around the time where Family Guy started to take off. And I'm in my early 20s, so I can make an edgy video game comic, you know? And so that's pretty much where the Reset Button was born. I created the characters first, and then I started the strips about 2 years later.
Hmm.
And I did them for a couple years. On top of that, there are a couple of hundreds of comics of that version of the Reset Button.
Yeah.
Um, but that's pretty much where it started. I actually stopped once again to work on my on the grind comic, and that's still like the largest webcomic I have. That's been the longest running webcomic of all of them. Um, and once I finished that, I around this time I was it was around the time where I roughly around the time where my son was born. I thought about doing the reset button again, this time as a kids comic,
Oh, okay.
because my sense of humor has changed. I'm no longer 23. I'm no longer trying to be edgy or things like that. Um, I just wanted it to be fun, uh, clean, fun, and funny.
For sure.
And that's how we came about with the reset reboot.
Nice. I really find that I I was reviewing the archive because it's been a while for me. Like, and I just love the fact that your art style has evolved. Your shading has gotten like way better, and just beautiful work overall, truly. And then I look at your website, and you just blow me out of the water. Like, I mean, you got so much great work. Not only your own original characters, but your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff is just top notch. I mean, it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I'm a big Turtles fan, lifelong Turtles fan.
What do you think about all the reboots that they've done for the series throughout the decades?
I was always a big on the '87 series, of course, but when the 2003 series came about, I watched the first season, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was around the same time where I was thinking up the original reset button, and I was thinking of edgy Family Guy humor, things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I don't really want to watch kids cartoons. I'm 20 some. Then once the 2012 series came about, I tried to watch it and I was hooked.
Nice. Yeah.
And yeah, I love the 2012. That's like my favorite one right now.
Yeah. They did.
And then they really did. And then the 2018 series, I hated it at first. Like I did not like the idea of the Ninja Turtles having powers, and that was just an instant turn off.
Yeah.
But in the last few weeks, I've been watching clips from like the last few episodes, and I was just blown away.
Mm.
And now I'm like, I was wrong. I need to go back and watch the rest of these.
Nice. We're geeks at heart, plain and simple. I mean, you got the Superman shirt on. You got everything all set up in the background there, from what I can briefly see.
Oh yeah, all the classics are behind me.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, video games are always like that inspirational moment when it comes to, you get hooked on a game and you're like 500 hours later and you're still playing it type deal. What's that one game you can always go back to?
Oh man.
I'll give you a top 5 if it's too hard for one.
Well, easily like Street Fighter. I can always play Street Fighter. I can always play Street Fighter. My top 5 is more like a top 100, but I can always go back to Street Fighter. I can always go back to Halo.
Nice, yeah.
The retro stuff I can always play. I can always play Tetris. I can always play Sonic the Hedgehog. Skyrim. I put a lot of time into Skyrim. I put a lot of time into The Witcher 3.
Mm-hmm.
I put a lot of time into Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's so good. I'm at the point where I can pretty much play anything and find something to like in it.
For sure.
Except for Dynasty Warriors. That was a tough one to get into, but
I don't know. I mean, it's typical horde mode where you're the central character and away you go. It hasn't changed in 20 years.
Yeah, I try to play it, and I'm just like, I can't do this.
I get carpal tunnel just pressing the button. Come on now, I need something a little easier. Let me play Skyrim instead. That's works. God, great game. I can't wait for number 6 to come out. That's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, if and when it ever does.
Yeah.
I give it 3 years.
Hey, if they're doing 3 years of development, then by all means, let's keep it that way.
Well, they're already working on it. There's already an announcement trailer that was 2 years ago. So yeah, so I say 5-6 years total development, maybe.
reset button, get started, you take a bit of a break, you bring it back, you've had your first child, Beware of Toddler comes out, and within a week it's like an instant hit. Truly. I mean, just the gods are smiling upon you. Buy a lottery ticket. You know, it's incredible what you've accomplished in this short amount of time.
I still don't believe it.
I mean, lightning in a bottle. Talk about Beware of Toddler, how it all came about as well, please.
Well, with Beware Toddler, because my second child was born. That's based on my second child, because she was born, and one day when she was a baby, like right when she first learned to walk, I did like a little sketch of a baby walking, and the baby had like a rocket launcher for some reason, and this rocket launcher shot diapers. And I didn't do anything with it. I just did it for fun, and I just threw it off to the side. But somewhere like shortly before her second birthday, she did something. She did something. I think she was like chasing me around the house or something. Because you know, you have young kids. Sometimes you just need that break, just like a couple minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And so I hid in the bedroom or whatnot. And when she found me, I thought it was hilarious for some reason. And I thought, hey, let's put that in a comic. Let's just see what happens. You know, I wasn't planning on doing 100 comics or getting 10,000 fans in a short amount of time. I just did it. I put it out there, and people liked it. And so, like immediately, like right with that time, I came up with the name Beware Toddler. I made sure it wasn't taken already,
Mm-hmm.
and I threw it out there, and people seemed to like it. And then I thought to do another one, so I made another one, and then people really liked it. And I had people telling me, "Okay, this might be the one for you. This might be it. This is the one that's going to blow up for you." And so I just kept them going. I was doing them once a week, making sure to get them out once a week. And then I started doing them twice a week. I tried to do 3 times a week, but that was a bit too much. And here, lo and behold, like a month later, hey, your Facebook page has 1,000 likes. I'm like, really? None of my other pages have 1,000 likes. so I'm like, okay, this is neat. A week later, 2,000 likes. And I'm like, okay. Now what do I do? I've only drawn 10 of these. I've only drawn a few of these, and here we go. Like a year later, and I just throw them up there. No paid promotion whatsoever. I don't do the page likes invites thing, because I never want to feel like I'm inconveniencing anyone. Because I'm paranoid about that. And organically, these people are just coming to read this comic, and I am grateful for every single one of them, and I'm amazed at where it is, and I'm excited at where I want to take it now.
Where do you want to take it? I'm curious.
Animation is the goal, the goal. The very next step is a trade collection.
Mm-hmm.
I've already started laying it out. In fact, I'm doing something new here, because I have other trades. I have 3 other trades from other 2 comics. With this Beware Toddler book, it's going to be part trade collection, part children's book.
Nice.
So what I'm doing now is I'm laying everything out. I'm almost done, and then I've written part of a children's book, and that's going to be the second half of it, a fully contained Beware Toddler story. Because in my mind, Beware Toddler is the 2020 version of Tom and Jerry, but with father and son, father and daughter.
I could definitely see that for sure. I think that'd be awesome. Truly.
So that's where I'm thinking. So after all this is said and done, I started like researching animation. I'm going to teach myself how to animate. I taught myself how to do everything up to this point. So I'm going to teach myself how to animate, and then I want to produce Beware Toddler shorts.
Nice. That's really good. I might recommend Paul Taylor from Wopsy Square. He's been doing some really cool animation stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
He's a cool guy. He does some great stuff.
I'm gonna look him up.
Yeah, but I think that's great. I think that's something that we need. We need some levity. We need some humor right now, and I'm glad that you're bringing real life to the page with Roar of Toddler. Truly.
Well, that's a lot of reason why I'm so focused on it now, is because of everything that's going on. I don't like that I have to. That sometimes I will put some real life things into it, such as stay home, wear a mask, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not trying to alienate anyone, but at the same time, these are things that's happening, and at the end of the day, I don't want to see anyone in a bad situation as a result of this. So, I mean, I can't do anything about that, but at least I can do is say, hey, look, I want to see you all safe. Please wear a mask.
Totally. You have to use your platform. Truly. You have a platform, use it. Plain and simple. I think that's great. Now that you have 2 children, what's more difficult? Is it raising your kids or making a comic or story arc about your kids?
One feeds it to the other. The raising my kids actually does feed it to the comic. It's, I would say, but at the same time, one makes the other one more difficult. It's hard. It's easy for me to make a comic about my kids, but it's hard for me to make a comic while my kids are being my kids. So it's I guess the former would be harder because you have to deal with them, and luckily for me, they're getting a bit older. Like my oldest son is 8.
Mm-hmm.
So all he wants to do is play video games and watch TV, and until school resumes soon, I just let him watch TV. He likes to draw also, so I let him draw and things like that. But my daughter, she's 3, and I don't know like who's here who has like the first kids and they have 2-year-olds. Let me just warn you, 3 is worse than 2. It's so much worse.
How so?
Like 3-year-old tantrums are not the same as 2-year-old tantrums. Like they get louder. They want even more unreasonable things. They're more persistent. They sleep less. So just fair warning.
Just don't give them the chocolate-covered coffee beans, and you're all set.
Oh no! I made the mistake of giving my daughter a pop the other day, and I think it was the first time she's ever had it, and she was bouncing off the walls. And I was just being nice. I gave my son some, so hey, I'll give my daughter some. And there's less for me to drink anyway because I'm trying to quit that stuff. But yeah, it was not pretty.
So she was the newest version of the Flash, then.
Yeah, basically, and that's actually partially what the children's book is going to be based on. It's basically a story about a Toddler and the Sugar Rush.
I can't wait to see it. I think it'll be great.
Thank you.
Looking into your background, though, starting off, back in school, you were just trying to learn how to draw. Your style has evolved throughout the years. You mentioned a couple of people like Calvin and Hobbes and those types of books that really kind of influenced your overall style. What other works, maybe more current or maybe when you're growing up in the 80s, were kind of your, like this is what I wanted to do full time?
Well, Bill Watterson was my number one. It's like everyone's number one, pretty much. There was also because I did step away from a bit. I was a fan of Peanuts, of course. I was a fan of Garfield.
Mm-hmm.
What another person who has influenced me a lot, not so much with Toddler and Reset Button, but with my own grind comic, was Aaron Magruder. I was a big fan of the Boondocks comics.
Oh, thanks.
I love the TV show. That was the comic though not my favorite of all time, was the one I related to the most.
Hmm.
And that was the one that taught me that I could take my own experiences, take things that are part of my world and bring them into comics. Especially as On the Grind, which is basically an African American young person viewing the world basically through his job. If that makes any sense.
No, it does totally. I mean,
and that was my life at the time, so I get it. But Aaron McGruder was a big one. As far as like art influences, besides those, I was very much influenced because I was a gamer by a lot of the art in like the was it the third or fourth video game generations. So like Super Mario going into the Sonic the Hedgehog era, like that kind of art really spoke to me, and I was a big fan of it. That's what influenced the reset button.
So like Super Mario 3 into Super Mario 2 then into Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right, Super Mario 2 into Sonic the Hedgehog. The later Mega Man titles, to a lesser extent, Osamu Tezuka, but I was a bit older when I learned about those works. And I cannot tell you the name of the rest.
Well, I think you touched upon some of them too. Like I still have my old Game Boy, my original Game Boy from back in the day. I like 26 games, and Final Fantasy was kind of my thing. I just got hooked on Final Fantasy. It was just incredible.
Yeah. There's one. Oh, lately I've been influenced by Scotty Young's work.
Oh yeah, incredible. Just love his stuff. Everyone's so talented, and I just interview people.
Nah, it's fun. It's a process because I've been doing this for God knows how long.
Okay. Going forward, though, reset button. I'm not going to say reset button's taking a back seat. You're kind of doing them kind of simultaneously, is from what I can see. Do you see that as an animated short as well, or are you going to focus more on Beware of Toddler?
Actually, I see them both as animated short. The thing with the reset button is what I'm doing because I'm still working on the reset button. I'm just not doing the comic strips. What I started about a year ago was I started doing more long form storytelling.
Oh, good.
I wrote and I drew a 22-page reset button comic book. I put it up on my Patreon. It's available to read right now for everyone, back or not. And I put it up there because I decided after I finish this book, I'm going to go back and do it over. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to change some things. And what it's going to be is those 22 pages will eventually be the first part of a reset button graphic novel.
Nice.
And so if you look at my Patreon, patreon.com/GeoGantArt, there's a link to read basically what is the first draft of the first part, fully colored, fully inked, fully lettered. It's just there are some pages I like to rework.
Just because your process has changed, or you just kind of say, you know what, now that I've done this, I need to just tweak it a bit?
Yeah, I need to tweak things related to the story mostly. Some things that I don't think fit. Some things that may make more sense in a separate chapter. But it's cool. It's a cool story. It's basically I took walking to school and turned it into an adventure. Over 22 pages. So that's pretty cool.
That's impressive.
It's fun.
Yeah. I could almost see that as a 24-hour comic book day type situation.
Yeah. I don't know if I can do that amount of time.
I don't think you have time, actually.
Yeah, time might be an issue here. Especially with Toddler. That's pretty much why I haven't been able to finish that book is because of Toddler. Because I drew Toddler at the same time I was working on the Reset book, and you got to go where the people are,
Oh,
sadly.
totally. Talk about, you open up your Facebook page, you see 9,000 followers, you see 10,000 followers. You have a great platform now. How do you want to use that to either promote yourself or promote the world around you?
I don't really know. I've just been focusing on comics. There are times when there are things into the comics where I would like speak out for or against certain issues. I did it for with wearing masks. I did it with staying home. I did it with Black Lives Matter. But outside of that, I haven't done much because I try to keep it mostly about the comics themselves. One thing I would like to do is with the dad. Sometimes I give the dad graphic tees.
Yeah. Excellent.
And what I would like to do, and I think I've done this with one person, is like use those graphic tees to kind of like subtly like promote another indie comic or another indie property, because there are people reading now, and I'm not the only one making these comics, and there are people that've been making comics far longer, far better comics than I could ever create with much smaller audiences. So if I can do that to help them without taking away what my comic is about, then I would love to do that.
Almost sounds like what Jeff Jocks does for questionable content when he does the shirts that he has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he does more like ironical style, like indie band type situations. But I think for yours, it would be a great way to promote other people as in a subtle way. Actually, it's like almost having a background character, but without a background, without a person.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a great way. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Conventions are closed for the foreseeable future, at least this year, from what I've seen, which is a kind of a shame. What's the local con that's in your area that you normally either visit or table at?
Well, for me, there are four. I live in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
So I've got
C2E2.
C2E2 is my go-to. I've done it several years in a row.
Yep.
My favorite con of all. I've done Wizard World in the past, and I plan on doing Wizard World in the future, if there is a future. There's FanCon in Arlington Heights. That's a great one that I love to visit. And then there's PocketCon in downtown Chicago near the end of the year, which I don't know what they're planning on doing for this year, if they're even able to. But that's always been a good one just to close out a year. I always treat that con like the celebration of the year itself.
Nice. Yeah, I've C2E2 was actually my first comic convention I ever interviewed people at back in 2010. So that was an eye-opening experience, being Canadian and going across the border, being stopped at the border and asking, "What are you doing?" And like, "Well, I'm going to a comic convention." And they're like, and there's two border guards, and they're like, "Can you pop the trunk?" So we pop the trunk. They look through the stuff. They see our cameras and stuff. And the other guy's like, "Comics, eh? Is that like that Batman and Superman and all that other stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then the other guy that's checking our trunk goes, "Yeah, don't forget Green Lantern and that fish guy, Aquaman." So, so it's like interesting how
there's so many more.
I know. Between Marvel and DC, then, or if we want to go that route, is there a particular, like, are you a Marvel guy or are you a DC guy? I mean, obviously with Superman, I'm thinking DC, but
I like them both, truth be told.
Sweet.
I've grown, I don't know, maybe I'm getting older, but I've grown that there's always something to like within everything. And especially as a gamer, because there's this whole console war thing going on. and and I have to like I always feel like I have to defend my choices, but truth be told, I like everything.
Nice.
And there's always something to like elsewhere, like somewhere.
Yeah, it's for me. I was doing Xbox and PS4, and I ended up switching back to PC, to be honest. So it was like, I
I
mean,
have a PC. I just built one actually. I just built well, I built two over this quarantine period. But I like PC as well. But I work for my PC, and
mm,
sometimes I play while I work.
it's
So I always try to keep a console as well.
it's called multitasking. It's not called playing at work. You're just multitasking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I try.
Um, I'll ask the four questions to kind of wrap this up because it sounds like your kids are are really going at it.
Oh,
It's all good. I have a decent headset. We touched upon this for influential people in terms of who inspired you to get on this path, but was there any real life people that interacted with you in either in school or whatever that kind of supported your drive to become an artist?
not really. Truth be told, um, with my goals of being an artist, I was kind of self motivated. Like I knew what I wanted. I knew I had to do it. And I'm not saying that there wasn't people that wasn't proud of me or that didn't like try to encourage me along the way, but I didn't have like that person that just like you know that really lit the fire. I kind of did it myself. I was a self starter in that sense, probably that sense only, but
Well,
yeah. Huh.
no, fair enough. I mean,
And now I'm trying to think like, was there anyone with art specifically? Not quite.
to be self-taught to do something that you're passionate about and that you love is always a good thing to have. So I mean, I'm glad you're doing it because it's awesome. In terms of your career, you're professionally successful. You have this great comic. You have a wonderful the reset button as well. You've done conventions. You're doing wonderful in terms of your work, and your website is incredible. Do you consider yourself personally successful?
Um, Not yet. Like, well, no, not yet. I think I can be. I think I will be in time, but until I can like pay bills fully and things like that, which I do okay. As a freelancer, I'm doing all right, but I don't think I'm at the point where I feel successful. But I don't think that success is out of my reach now.
So, do you attribute success to financial gain?
A lot of it, yes. I mean, financial gain, yes, I do. I do because I. I'm trying to find the right way to say this. Um, like, yes, growing up, I didn't really have a bunch of money growing up or anything like that. Um, so in my mind, money was an indicator of success.
Hmm.
Now, yes, there are personal successes. I'm proud and I feel successful with what I've accomplished, but I know that I'm not at my ceiling yet. That's financially or personally, skill wise, or even like dealing with the business of all of this. There's still so much to do. There's still so much to learn. I'm not there yet, but I can see it.
Well, reverse of that is how do you deal with your failures?
Um, you learn, you figure out what you did wrong, and you keep moving. It's very much like a video game. You lose in a video game, you continue and you try again. Yeah, I'm not a quitter. I have to accomplish things.
Well, that shows a good drive and determination to no matter what hardships come your way or no matter what success comes your way, you're at least level-headed enough to understand, both sides, which is great.
Yeah, you have to examine everything. You have to examine like all of the variables in everything you do.
The younger generation are looking at your work, looking at Beware of Toddler, looking at the reset button, and they're becoming inspired to do whatever they want to do, either become an artist or a writer or whatever path they decide to choose. How can they inspire the generation that follows them?
Um, uh, by doing the same way I felt inspired. I saw what I liked and I did. I tried to do it, and then I failed. And I tried to do it again, and again and again and again. And it's you can be inspired all you want, but until you take action, then what? You know, you just have to try. You have to take that first step. Take the first step, and everything else becomes easier.
Short, sweet, to the point. We can't ask for anything more.
Well, I couldn't think of anything else. I'm like trying. I'm racking my brain. I've had enough coffee today.
Well, ironically, I was going to go to Starbucks afterwards and pick something up. So
See, I'm going to brew another cup in a few minutes.
there you go. Even better. I hate to say it, but that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. Before we go, though, I want you to plug your site, yourself, your works for however we can find you on social media and your website and everything like that. And, well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a real pleasure, and thank you for starting our 12th year off on Two Geeks Talking.
Dude, thank you for having me. I really enjoy this. I haven't done many of these, and I'm always afraid, and you've made me feel comfortable, so I thank you. But as far as Beware Toddler, where can you find it? You can check out my portfolio at geogantart.com. My Twitter and Facebook handles are the exact same at geogant.art. Geogantart. You can see Beware Toddler at bewaretoddler.com. On Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Beware Toddler. And it's also on Spinwiz Comics and Webtoon.
And we can find those links on your website as well.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Well, you know, time flies on this show, and I'm glad you came on. I want to. This is something I haven't done in the past. I want to get you back on in next year or whenever you have something new available. If you have another project coming up, come on the show. I want to promote whatever I can, and however I can help you out, I'd like to do.
Yeah, hopefully I should have the book done. Well, I will have the book done by then, but I'll have more reset stuff by then.
Awesome. Well, like I said, that ends this episode of Two Geeks Talking. Of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. This is, again, our 12th anniversary of Two Geeks Talking. Recent news, I've been updating the IMDb website for Two Geeks Talking, so I've been adding past guests, hundreds of guests, and I'll actually finally have, and this is really bad, I'll finally have an actual episode count of how many episodes I've done on Two Geeks Talking over these past 12 years. That's including comic conventions like C2E2, like Fan Expo Canada, like Kids Read Comics, and a bunch of others I've been to. So I've always said, like, I have almost 1,000 interviews. I don't know if I have 1,000 interviews. I stopped counting. I've stopped putting episode numbers. So we'll finally get an actual number. But I do want to thank all the past co-hosts I've had in the past, like I said in my blog post, in my Twitter post as well. Phil, thank you so much for being, you know, a true inspiration and being the main co-host for the first couple of years of Two Geeks Talking. I appreciate that. For everyone else that has been on the show, Webcomic Alliance, to all the amazing guests that I've had in the past, thank you so much for your support and your inspiration. Because I wouldn't be doing this for 12 years if I didn't find at least every one of you interesting in some way, shape, or form, whether it's your talent, your creativity, or just your personality. So thank you again. Next week, or a couple of weeks later, I don't know, it depends on the schedule, we have, I'm working on getting Alina Pete from Weird Geek back on the show. First interview with her was back in 2009. First interview at a comic convention was 2010. So it's been like 10 years. So it'd be nice to get her back on. Another person who's been on the show, been a co-host as well. She is the Latina sensation. She is an incredible comic artist, and she is a real badass surfer as well, too. You know her as, of course, Jules Rivera from Love Jules. She is going to come back on the show with some amazing news, which will probably be in October. So keep a lookout for that. Anyhow, I've talked on long enough. Thank you for listening and watching, and check out George's work. It's great stuff.